Welcome to another episode of the Plant-Based Jan Adventure Series. I'm trying to find the coolest places on the planet while also living a healthy lifestyle on the road. For me, that's plant-based. Now that is an adventure. And oh my Idaho. It is right here that you will find the deepest river canyon in North America. In this video, we're going down deeper than the Grand Canyon into wilderness and whitewater. Come along with me to this wildly beautiful, addictive, adrenaline rush of a place as we ask today's question: how do you want to experience Hell's Canyon? What is the best way to experience the canyon? My goal with this video is to show you the options to access it and provide some mapping of the area so you get more perspective. One note about what you're watching: I visited a few different times during various months, so you'll see some differences like the lush green of spring or the blazing hot, dry summer days. It was a little challenging to do everything in one trip, so I simply put together some different days of sightseeing and boating and drives and hikes, but of course I'm just serving up the highlights. The total size of Hell's Canyon Recreation Area is vast. It's 652,000 acres plus. If we're doing comparisons for total area, it's roughly half the size of Grand Canyon National Park. But as I mentioned, it's deeper than the Grand Canyon. On the Idaho side, it's 8,000 feet deep, and the Grand Canyon is 6,000 feet deep. For this kind of scenery and its superlative of being the deepest river gorge on a continent, there are really not that many visitors. Again, for comparison, the Grand Canyon gets an average of 5 million visitors a year, and Hell's Canyon has around 300 to 400,000 visitors per year, so it's around 7%. The point in comparing visitors is to say this area is remote. So right here we're at the confluence of the Snake and the Salmon River. Let's hop over to the map to show you exactly where I'm at and get the lay of the land. The whole area is located in northeastern Oregon and central Idaho, with the Snake River forming the border between the states. There's also a little tip on the southeast Washington state border. When I kicked off this video, I said, "Oh my Idaho," because that was a scene from Idaho, but you can see that the majority of the acreage is actually in Oregon. So I'll say this: oh my Oregon. Quick note about Oregon: the other side of Oregon is the Oregon coast, one of the coolest places on the planet. Check out my video on that. Back to the Snake River. If you're in the river, one shore will be Idaho and one will be Oregon. Earlier I mentioned the entire recreation area is 652,000 acres, but over a third of that, or nearly 220,000 acres, is designated wilderness. It is wild, it is remote. Now, where was I just standing? That's where the Salmon River flows into the Snake River, more towards the north part of the Hell's Canyon Recreation Area. And by the way, the Salmon River is unbelievable. Even Marilyn Monroe said so, starring in The River of No Return. From here, we decide if we're going up the Salmon River or the Snake River. It goes right into the Frank Church Wilderness, the largest designated wilderness area in the lower 48. And the only way in is by river, or you can hike into maybe you and your horse, or you can fly in. I'll cover that area in a future video. Stay tuned. With the map right here, I'll cover the loop of nearest towns to this area. It is a challenge, so I'd appreciate anyone jumping into the comments to add more towns, tips, especially if you're local. Those are helpful to everyone. To the north is the Lewiston-Clarkston area. That's Lewiston, Idaho, and Clarkston, Washington, and the Snake splits the two of them. Of course, they were named after Lewis and Clark. These are good-sized towns with plenty of amenities and a takeoff point for jet boat tours. Here's what that looks like. We're here at the port of Clarkston, and we've got jet boat tour companies. We've got a dock down there where you take off, and there's a mail boat. So I'm gonna go check this out. So right behind me is Snake River Adventures Hellbound boat. They've got about 14 people on the boat. They have anywhere from 14 to 49 people, I was just told, and they are going up to Doug Bar. It's about 10, 11 in the morning right now. I haven't checked my watch, but they're going to be back at about 5 and just do a round trip, stop for lunch and all that. Right behind me on the other side of the river, Lewis and Clark actually camped in October of 1805. That was just one jet boat tour company that leaves from the Lewiston-Clarkston area, but there are a number of them. The boats are all safe, nice sized, and typically have a restroom. They come stocked with lunch, snacks, bottled water. You'll want to check all that. And if you're interested in one of these tours, you want to match up the type of experience you want. Some of the options are private tours or package trips, typically like a half-day trip that goes into the north part of the canyon for scenic sightseeing. There are longer full-day trips that go deeper into the canyon and hit more of the higher level rapids in the wild section. I just mentioned the words scenic and wild, and these are actually official national river designations. The Snake River in Hells Canyon has both. And the wild area is just that, rapids that can be 4s or 5s, all dependent on the river flows. What they watch for are cubic feet per second. In the summer, it can be 5,000 cubic feet per second and go up to 70,000 CFS in the spring runoffs. But don't worry, the jet boat companies and the captains know all of this very, very well. They plan accordingly. By the way, if you want to learn more about wild and scenic rivers near you, you can check out the government website. It's rivers.gov. As you can see, this is a big area, and it takes some time to get from Lewiston-Clarkston into the canyon and still get you back within the day. So if you're the type that wants to cut to the chase and just get to the wild area, which goes to the endpoint of Hells Canyon Dam, let's go back to that map and we'll get some more options. Driving about 70 miles southeast into Idaho from Lewiston-Clarkston is Grangeville. It's quite a bit smaller than the Lewiston area, but it puts you closer to some of the areas, and it also features grocery stores and all the basic amenities. If you want to go small and quaint, you'll find a couple of accommodations in the picturesque small town of Whitebird. We parked our RV trailer here for a few days and found a really cool spot on the river. And by the way, the local Whitebird Tavern may be a place where you find jet boat captains swapping stories. Just saying, for a little behind the scenes info. Here's a picture of me after meeting Old Man River in the bar. I'm not sure who he is, but he said he's really famous. He's kind of a big deal, and he couldn't be in the picture. Whitebird is the closest town to the Pittsburgh Landing takeoff point for some of the jet boat tours, which get you into the wild and scenic part of the Snake River. Whitebird sits in a canyon. Just look at Highway 95 way up there. Also here is the Whitebird battlefield. It's the location of the first battle of the Perce War when they defeated the U.S. cavalry in their quest to remain in some of these areas. Chief Whitebird was a leader, a war chief, and a shaman. The battle site now has information detailing all of this history and the dates of events that took place in this Hells Canyon area. To get there, just drive down River Street all the way through town and you'll run into it in a couple of miles. From Whitebird, there's the drive to get to Pittsburgh Landing. It's less than 20 miles, but planned for an hour drive time. Pittsburgh Landing is the jumping off point for jet boat tours that drop you straight into the wild part of the Snake River. And whether you go boating or not, this drive is stunning. We are on Deer Creek Road. That is just outside of Whitebird, Idaho. We are headed to Pittsburgh Landing, and we're doing this by a vehicle right now because we want to find out if we just want to scope out the river in this area and find out if we want to bring our boat up here and take some video of the scenery as we go into it via vehicle, just a different perspective than the boat. In Whitebird, we ventured out of our comfortable little RV spot and booked a last-minute trip with the appropriately named outfit, Hammer Down. One thing we gained when we took our own jet boat to the Snake, check out my video on that, is an appreciation for these boats. You have to have some serious power and keep the RPMs high just to stay even in the rapids. And these are not gas sippers. You can almost hear the money being sucked down, especially with gas prices today. And that's one of the reasons for the price tags on these tours, that and these amazing boats. They can take a pounding and get scarred up. But now, let's hit the road and head to the takeoff point. This is Pittsburgh Landing, where some of the commercial boat operators and private take off. There's a ranger station here, campground, facilities. So Pittsburgh Landing is right here. We're going all the way to Hells Canyon Dam. It's about 9:30 and all the boats are going in. It's an all-day thing. Early afternoon, you get back about 3 o'clock. I think it's probably about an hour and a half to 2 hours of just heavy running, you know, where the engine's on and you're just smoking up there. And then there's a lot of time where we'll probably make some stops and do a little swimming, maybe a little walking around the beaches or the shoreline. So it should be a really fun day. This particular boat ride had lots of air conditioning in terms of river water. It was a wet ride as we rode through the rapids, and in this area I learned that there are 2 class 4 rapids, Wild Sheep and Granite. These are class 4 rapids even when the water levels are low. If water levels are higher, like 30,000 CFS or greater, they become class 5 rapids. There's a couple of other rapids, Water Spout and Rush Creek Rapid. that can also become class 4s. If you're into rapids, just pick up the great little resource book. We stopped at the visitor center, just a little ways past Swallow's Nest boat ramp, and I picked up this. This has the, it's the boater's guide for the Snake. The Snake River Boater's Guide. It details almost everything on the river. For a break, we stopped at Kirkwood Ranch. Lunchtime. They do provide lunch, but I secretly snuck up a few plant-based sandwiches. These are really good. You may have noticed I'm plant-based, and that's whole food for health. This isn't the first time I brought lunch out on the river. Really quick lunch break on the Snake and the Salmon. A spinach, whole wheat noodle, Asian salad. I put a bunch of peanuts in there, and garlic and onion and soy sauce with a little bit of peanut butter, sugar snap peas. It's got some red pepper. It's super healthy. Okay. I have lots more info, ideas, and quick recipes on my channel right here. The historic ranch does a good job showing what this canyon life was like in the 1930s. There's the original ranch house, bunk houses, farm equipment. It's a beautiful spot. Puppy, are you heading back to the boat? Enough of the historic stuff. To get here, if you want to skip the boat ride, you would hike about 6 miles from Pittsburgh Landing, where we just were, by way of the Snake River National Recreation Trail. A disclaimer though, this is rattlesnake and poison ivy country, and there's no water, and there's very little to no cell service. So that was 4 or 5 disclaimers. The final destination, or the end of the line, Hell's Canyon Dam. It was a great stop. The Visitor Center is a rich resource of information.
Look
at this one.
Each year the monsters traveled eastward, devouring all the little ones.
This area down here is accessible from a trail that starts way above there. It's called Deep Creek Stairway Trailhead. I did that the other day, and that was incredible. Many flights of open metal staircases right along these rock walls. I'll show you some scenes from that trail in a minute. Another thing to mention, if you want to book a tour that takes off directly from this launch area, which is the Hells Canyon Creek Visitor Center, also known as Hells Canyon Dam Visitor Center, look up the company Hells Canyon Adventures. They have many different options that include half-day or full-day trips. They also have guided rafting, overnight adventures, pickup services, all sorts of options. Getting to this area via vehicle is a long way around, so let's go back to the map. We just stayed in Whitebird for close access for our jet boat trip that took off from Pittsburgh Landing. Now that we're all dried out and driving further south, we'll hit the bigger town of Riggins, Idaho. And by bigger, I mean a couple hundred more people than Whitebird. Riggins sits right on the Salmon River, and it's close to the Big Salmon Road, which runs east along the ultra scenic river and ends at Vinegar Creek. We're heading up Big Salmon Road, and we're just about to embark on the journey up the Salmon River, the river of no return. I've got my coffee from Riggins, Idaho, so I'm all jazzed up, but the Whitewater gets you all jazzed up too. So we're taking some video along this great drive. It is so scenic up here. It's just beautiful. And ends at Vinegar Creek, which is about 25 miles up. If you're into floating and rafting, this whole area is world class. According to Idaho Outfitters and Guides Association, no other state can claim as many recreational river miles as Idaho. There's a huge variety of trips. Some are calm, lazy river floats for an afternoon to multi-day whitewater wilderness trips. If you take any detours, take this Big Salmon River Road drive. Each time I've been on it, I've seen wildlife, and you'll probably see colorful rafts on it. If it's hot weather, you'll definitely want to jump in the boat with them. back on the road and our tour of the outskirts of Hells Canyon Recreation Area. Further south from Riggins, you can head east to McCall, Idaho. That's a resort town with accommodations. It's got hotels and more amenities. If you head west, you'll pass through Council, Cambridge, and then round back up to Oxbow, Oregon. These areas cater more to RVs with both public and private RV parks. We stopped out before staying in Oxbow for a couple nights in our RV trailer, and this put us in much closer proximity to road access to Hells Canyon Dam and the Hat Point Overlook.
It's the perfect day to do a little hike. It's 77 degrees outside and it's cloudy, so it's perfect. We're gonna go down Deep Creek Trail. It runs down a set of stairways to a gorge below, and this follows the actual dam right here. And once we get down there, we're gonna be in this cool gorge. So first, we have to descend down a huge set of stairways. You see this fur or hair on the trees? That's from the mountain goat shedding. You do wonder if the mountain goats have to register on this, because they certainly use this trail. I see evidence. At the bottom of Deep Creek Trail, bottom of the gorge, we'll go into this gorge and see what's up there, what this trail looks like. So far it's just beautiful.
We ran into a couple days of cloudy weather, so we chose not to go to Hat Point Overlook, but went to Hells Canyon Overlook.
This is one of the Hells Canyon area overlooks behind me, and this is just part of the 652,000 acres of this wilderness area. If you look out here, this is probably a lot of this area has never even seen a human foot. So again, we would be considered on the south side of the gorge.
The road from our camp spot in Oxbow to Hells Canyon Dam is the last leg of the Hells Canyon Scenic Byway. This is a 218-mile loop that circles the Wallowa Mountains of northeast Oregon and starts at Interstate 84 in La Grande or Baker City. It's all paved, and it has small towns I can't wait to see. Joseph is called a place for artists, known for bronze casting and sculptures. Enterprise is along the way, and the little town of Imnaha, Oregon's most eastern settlement. You will want to have a full gas tank. Thanks so much for coming along on this greatest adventure we call life. I'd love it if you subscribed or liked or shared my videos. Be sure to leave a comment or feedback. I want to know what you think. Until next time.
Intermixed with the rolling green hills of central Idaho are these blankets of yellow. These are canola plants.